I am really excited about this video because it's such an important topic for any agent who wants to dominate listings in their market. I know that's why we are here. And we're going to talk about handling objections at the listing presentation. We're not just going to talk about it. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to handle the most common listing presentation objections. And you're going to know exactly what to say word for word. I'm going to take you through all of the best scripts. Objections like, what do you do differently from other agents? Or another agent said that they could sell my house for more money. Or I want to interview other agents, and the one that everyone dreads, I want to think about it. I'll call you in the next couple of days. Commission objection is also very common, and that's a whole other animal. So I decided that I'm going to do a separate video for you just on handling commissions at the appointment, and that'll be coming up in the future. Now I have, I think, 13 pages of notes. I compiled the best tools, strategies, and scripts for you. And I wrote down a bunch of stuff. I don't want to forget to tell you any of it. So this video is going to go way beyond just giving you scripts, word for word what to say. By the end of the video, you're also going to know why you are getting objections at the presentation to begin with, and even better, how to avoid them. I don't know about you, but I much rather not get objections to begin with. So we're going to talk about that because you will know exactly how to do it. Before we start, I know that we live in the era of instant gratification. And I am pretty sure that most of you would want to learn all of this in the next 30 seconds. And unfortunately, I have bad news for you. That is not going to happen. You can certainly skip the beginning part of this and just find, oh, how do I want to interview other agents? But that's not going to help you, because what I'm going to talk to you about before we actually get to the scripts word for word is critically important. And as I always say, there are no shortcuts to any place worth going. You want to master this stuff. Get a notepad, grab a pen, pay attention, take some notes, and by the end of this video, you will be a pro at handling objections at your listing appointments. So here's the first thing that I wrote down. We're going to start by talking about how to avoid getting these objections. We do that by preemptively answering all of their questions and objections before they come up. Now, doesn't that sound amazing? But how do we do that if we don't know what their questions and objections are when we knock on the door? Exactly. The answer is we have to figure out what the questions and objections are before we go on the appointment, right? So here's what I wrote down. The stronger your presentation is, the fewer objections you'll get. And this presentation that I am referring to includes the phone conversation where you set the appointment. Right there, that initial conversation, that's where the objections start in their mind. Objections at the listing appointment don't come out of nowhere. The objections you get are a result of how you not only how you handle the appointment, I wrote down, but how and what you say or didn't say when you set that appointment. You might want to listen to this again, because this is the reason why you get objections. This is how you're going to avoid objections. So let's talk about that. When you call a seller, a homeowner, I don't care who it is, your only goal, you have one goal, and that is to set an appointment. And you want to make sure that you are using my scripts, the Sales X scripts. There is a link for you to download my script book for free in the description of this video. So if you don't have that script book yet, make sure you go download it, because again, your only goal on the calls is to set an appointment. And pretty much all other scripts except for mine have a bunch of questions that, instead of getting you to set an appointment, they distract you from setting the appointment. So using the right script, so you, instead of getting a bunch of leads that you'll never talk to again, you actually set appointments. So the call is focused on setting the appointment, nothing else. By the time they agree to meet with you, so they say, yes, come over at 4 o'clock. The seller needs to be excited about meeting with you. I mean, so excited that they're literally sitting on the edge of their seat, can't wait for you to get there. Why is that? Because people make decisions when they're excited about the future, and the excitement starts on the call. So if you do this correctly and you do it the way that I teach you to do it, you can make this happen. And now, once they agree to meet with you, after you set the appointment, you must, and I wrote down the word must in capital letters, you must pre-qualify the appointment. This is the most important part of your listing presentation. And if you don't do this correctly, if you just decide, oh, I'm gonna go, I'm scared of pre-qualifying, I've tried asking some pre-qualifying questions and people get annoyed, or they say, I don't have time right now, or why are you asking me all these questions? You're doing it incorrectly, okay? I am actually also decided, as I was going through all of these notes for you for this video, I will also do a video where I'm going to take you through the entire pre-qualifying process, step by step, so you will know how to do that. That's not what this video is about, but I will do a video on pre-qualifying for you. So the reason why pre-qualifying is so important, we're talking about taking listings. We're talking about avoiding objections, doing such an incredible presentation at the appointment that the seller just can't wait to sign the contract and have you go out and sell their house. That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about wasting your time previewing property, I don't know, going to people's open houses, none of that. That's a waste of your time. So pre-qualifying will save you actually from being blindsided at the appointment with objections that you had no clue were coming, okay? So the first reason why you pre-qualify is when you do, you will gather information. You're gonna find out what they're looking for in an agent. That's one of the questions on my pre-qualifying script. What specifically are you looking for in the agent that you will hire? You're going to find out what questions they have, what objections they have, what price are they thinking about listing the property for. And when you have all of this information, you're going to be better prepared for the appointment. And if you actually pre-qualify correctly and you ask these questions skillfully, the seller is going to open up. They will tell you everything you need to know. They'll tell you where they're moving, what's important about the move, all of it when you do it properly. Number two, you are not going to handle objections when you pre-qualify. Remember what I said, you're just gathering information. Okay, I know what questions, I know objections, I know what they're looking for, I know the price, I know where they're moving, all of it. Number three, when you arrive at the listing appointment, when you knock on the door, there should be absolutely no objections that you are unaware of. Like you again, I use the term blindsided. You should never be blindsided when you pre-qualify effectively. And then the final reason why pre-qualifying is so important. This is how you're going to, as I said earlier, preemptively handle the objections. Because now, with all of this information, you already know what it is you need to respond to, clarify for them, show them. You're going to know all of it. So by the time you ask them to sign the contract, the listing agreement, they're ready to go. Again, I wrote it down here, but I already mentioned to you, I will do another video on pre-qualifying and take you through every question so you understand all of it, okay? So let's get to how to handle objections at the appointment if you still get them. So I'm going to take you through first, before I give you word for word the scripts for each of the objections I mentioned, I'm going to take you through the steps to handling objections at the appointment. If you watch some of my other videos, and there's some videos where I tell you how to handle objections over the phone. Over the phone, there are 4 steps. In person, there are 6 steps. Yes, that's 6. 6 steps. So let me take you through them. Step number 1 is actually the same, and step number 1 and 2 are the same thing that you do over the phone. 1, listen intently to what they're saying. And when you listen, listening is different than hearing. You could hear something, but you weren't really listening. And then I added the listening intently, with the purpose of understanding. And what this means is that when they're speaking, when they're giving you an objection, you're not freaking out in your head because you have no idea what you're going to do. There's no need for that. You're either going to know what to do or not. It's either going to come out of your mouth or not. Freaking out when you're there is not going to help you. Okay? One of my favorite quotes, I have lots of them, is luck happens when preparation meets opportunity. You're either prepared or you're not. You're watching this video. If you learn, if you're taking notes, if you're paying attention, you could come back and watch it again. You can be prepared. So in that moment, the only thing to do is listen with the purpose of understanding. Number 2. Oh, actually, before number 2, I wrote this down. See, that's why I have notes so I don't forget anything. Why listening intently with the purpose of understanding is so important? Because I'm going to give you great scripts to handle I want to interview other agents. Okay, you have great scripts, but what good is having a great script if the seller that you are saying this to is not listening? And here's why they may not listen. Because people won't listen to you until they feel like you've listened to them. So you are listening intently. And then number 2, step 2, you're going to make sure that they know that you are actually listening, paying attention, and you're interested. You are going to repeat word for word or paraphrase the objection they gave you, and you're going to validate and acknowledge that objection. Validating and acknowledging is not the same as agreement, okay? If they say, oh, I want to interview other agents. Oh, I agree with you. You should definitely do that. I'll come back another day. No, that's not what you're going to do. Validating, when I give you the script, you're going to know. Validating is saying, you know, Mr. Seller, I completely understand why you would want to speak with at least, 2 or 3 agents, because obviously this is a very important decision. And you want to make sure that you hire the absolute best agent that you feel confident can sell your home quickly and for the most money possible, right? That's not even the script I'm going to give you. That just came out of my mouth right now. So that is making them feel like, okay, she heard me and she understands why it would make sense, why I'm thinking, well, this is the best option for me. That's validating and acknowledging. And it's a critical step. You cannot do this effectively if you are not listening intently. There are lots of other scripts out there that have like an approval word. Well, great, fantastic. That doesn't make anybody feel heard, understood. It's just like an automatic response, like, okay, yeah, I heard you. Let me ask you another question. And again, people won't listen to you until they feel like you've listened to them. So when you respond like that with these automatic responses, people are like, they don't want to answer your next question. They don't want to hear what you're going to say. This is just human nature. And I'm sure you, in all of your interactions and communications, feel the same way. You want to be heard and understood. Now, I actually believe that this step number 2 is the most important one, because otherwise you're going to keep talking here. Okay, I'm going to give you step 3, but you'll be talking to a wall. And that wall pretty soon is going to ask you to leave their house, okay? Because they're not paying attention to what you're saying. Step number 3, level shift. And then I wrote down in parentheses, if appropriate. It's not 100% of the time appropriate. I'm going to explain to you what this is, and then you're, with experience and practice, you're gonna, and when you're paying attention and listening intently, you're gonna know if it makes sense for you to level shift or not. So I'll give you an example, which is the best way for you to understand this. If a seller says, well, I don't want to pay X amount in commission. Again, commission is going to be another video. This is just an example. I want to pay less commission, let's say. Level shift means, first you're going to acknowledge and validate. You're going to say, Mr. Seller, I understand where you're coming from, because obviously from your perspective, you're thinking, well, if I can actually get the same results, I can sell my home in the same amount of time for the same amount of money, and I can pay a lower commission. Obviously, you would prefer that because you'll end up with more money. And at the same time, Mr. Seller, I imagine that in this process of selling your home, it's really not so much how much commission you pay, but how much you're gonna end up with, right? Okay, so the level shift is, I did all the approval before, right? So I'm shifting the focus of this conversation from the commission to what they're gonna walk away with. So now that's what we're gonna talk, because they're gonna say, well, yeah, of course, yeah. In their mind, the commission affects what they walk away with, but they're not so hung up on the commission. They want to know, okay, how do I end up with the most money possible? That is a level shift. And there's certain phrases that you can use to actually go ahead with the level shift. I wrote down a couple of examples. Mr. Seller, what I hear you saying is, you're not so much concerned about the commission. You actually want to make sure that you walk away with the most money possible. Or it sounds like what you're looking for is blah, blah, blah. Then you shift the conversation. So, Mr. Seller, it sounds to me, or what I hear you saying is, what's most important to you is not necessarily how much commission you pay, but how much you end up with, right? So these are just transitions into a level shift. If it's appropriate, that's step number 3. Step number 4. You don't do this over the phone. Steps 3 and 4 don't happen over the phone, okay? Over the phone, you're going to, excuse me, not over the phone, in person. You're going to isolate the objection. And isolating the objection in person means that you ask them, Mr. Seller, if we can, let's say the objection is commission. If we can agree on the commission, will you be ready to go ahead and list the property with me today? What this does, it's obvious, isolate means this is the only thing that is kind of pending. It's the only, and they may say yes, or they may say, well, no, you know, I also want to know how long this listing agreement is for. Okay, now you know you got commission and you got the length of the listing. And if there's something, well, and I'm also thinking I should interview other agents. You want to like know what it is. So every time you handle something, something else doesn't come up. Okay, so isolating the objection is very, very powerful. Then you go for asking a question to spark curiosity and concern. I'll give you examples. When I go through the scripts with you word by word, word for word, and you'll find a lot of different scripts on my script book as well. Maybe even some of these, I don't know if those are there. When you go through the script book and you hear the word for word, you're going to hear these questions to spark curiosity and concern. I'll just give you a couple of examples right now. Mr. Seller, use people's name. Jackie, can I tell you why working with a discount agent will actually end up costing you money? That is such a great question. And it's not just for commission. You know, a lot of these scripts are very versatile. You could use it on many different objections. For example, the one I just gave you, can I tell you why working with a neighborhood specialist can actually end up costing you money? And the way that I'm saying it too, I sound concerned. Can I tell you why? Obviously you're in person, so you use your body language too. End up costing you money. And people are like, cost me money? What are you talking about? Now they're curious and they're concerned. So now you're ready to actually handle the objection. Explain to them why. Working with a neighborhood specialist or whatever. Another question to spark curiosity and cause them to be concerned. Unfortunately, Mr. Seller, and again, remember what happened before you get here. You already validated and approved and acknowledged the objection. Because if you just jump to this without that, it's not going to work. Okay? Now, maybe you're starting to see why I told you, don't skip the video. You got to watch the whole thing. You either want to master these objections or you just want to like a quick fix here that's not really going to help you long term. Unfortunately, Mr. Seller, that also works against you. May I tell you why? Work against me. Another one. May I share with you, Mr. Seller, why that can be one of the worst decisions you can make? Or do I have your permission, Mr. Seller, to tell you the truth about how the majority of other agents work? Let's say the objection was, I want to interview other agents. That's step number 4. Step number 5. Now you're going to handle the objection. Whatever you're going to say about why it's the worst decision, why it's going to could cost them money, blah, blah, blah. Now you do it. And then once you handle the objection, you get your pen, you put a little X on where they're supposed to sign the listing agreement, you hand them the pen and you ask them to sign. I just need your signature right here, Mr. Seller. And I'm pointing, handing the pen, and nodding my head. That's a close. You close for the signature. Closing means ask them to sign, okay? Because if you don't ask, the answer is going to be no, or they're going to keep objecting. So step number 6 is every single time you ask them to sign. Now, one of two things will happen when you ask them to sign the contract. They either will sign it or they'll give you another objection. And this video is not about closing for the signature, but since we're handling objections and that's the last step, I want to make sure that I cover this with you. When you hand them the pen and you point to the signature line and you're just nodding yes with a little, you're not like grumpy or stressed out. You're just like, right thing to do. Don't move. Don't open your mouth. Don't say anything. Sometimes sellers they take a moment. Happened to me so many times that I'm going like that, and they're, if there are a couple of people, partners, owners, whatever, they kind of look at each other, they look at me, and they're like kind of looking to what should we do. And then one of them, goes like that. They take the pen and sign. And that may take a few seconds. Your job is to just stay there. Okay? People mimic each other when you're in rapport. That's a whole other conversation, but you should be in rapport. You should have made a great presentation. You handle their objection. And when you're nodding yes, and you're handing the pen, the tendency subconsciously when you're in rapport is for them to grab that pen and sign or, nod yes with you. So this is what you do, okay? You don't open your mouth. It may be a little uncomfortable to actually allow that silence and the space. You need to practice this. Practice in front of a mirror. You'll get better and better. So one of two things will happen. Eventually, they'll grab the pen and sign the contract, or they will give you another objection. If they give you another objection, what do? You go back to step 1. You listen intently. Then you go to step 2. You repeat, validate, acknowledge the objection. Then you go to step 3. If it's possible for you to actually level shift, you do. Then you isolate the objection. If you isolated the objection, right, the first time, you shouldn't be getting another one. Or maybe you knew there were 2 or 3. So if there were 2 or 3, you would handle each of them in turn. Okay? This is too much for this video, but that's what you would do. So if you isolated, you shouldn't be getting another one. If you're getting another one, it's like, again, I already told you how to avoid objections by pre-qualifying correctly. My script book has the pre-qualifying script. I told you I'm going to do a video, but until then, you have it. You have the script there. So you shouldn't really be getting a whole bunch of objections if you made a great presentation and you did everything that I told you in the beginning of this video. But if you do, you go back to steps 1 through 6. You isolate the objection. You ask a question to spark curiosity, to cause some concern. Then you handle the objection. You ask them to sign again. Yeah, they're going to do that again. And if they sign, great, you're done. If they don't sign, you're going back to step 1. And how many times are you going to do that until they either sign the contract or throw you out of their house? That's the attitude you need to have. Not because you're being pushy, because you know that working with you is the best decision the seller can make. And if you walk out of this appointment, they may end up listing with an incompetent agent who's going to do a horrible job. And your chances of taking the listing once you walk out the door go down dramatically. It could happen, but it's, your chances definitely go down. And then I wrote this down. 80% of the yeses, the closes, happen after asking 5 times. So you're going to go through this a minimum of 5 times. And if you do it correctly, you shouldn't even take that many times. And then a final thing, you don't always have to use all of the steps. Okay. Again, the level shift only if it's appropriate. If you already know it's only one objection, then that's fine. And I actually wrote this down. See, if I don't have my notes, I forget stuff sometimes. Sometimes just by listening intently and massively approving, acknowledging, validating the objections go away over the phone and in person, just because they feel like you heard, understood, and you acknowledge everything they're saying. They're like, okay, then you go on, and they sign the contract, then you're done. Perfect. Remember this, because I know some of you right now may be feeling a little nervous. What do you mean? I'm going to keep doing this until they throw me out of the house? Oh, I don't like that. Oh, 5 times, that's a lot. I don't know what to do. When you are on a listing appointment, remember that what the seller is looking for in an agent, if they're going to list with you, they're looking for a leader. Everyone is looking for a leader in every aspect of life. Okay? Religious leaders, political leaders, a real estate leader. Selling a house is a big deal. It's a very important financial transaction, hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's a lot of money. And a seller is not just gonna like throw it in the hands of someone unless they feel like this is someone who knows what they're doing. And when you show up like that as an expert, knowledgeable, professional leader, they follow. That's what people do with leaders. You're either a leader or a follower. And when you lead, they follow. If you don't lead, well, then you're out of luck. The listing is not going to be yours. And before we go into these objection handlers, because I have them all here for you, many times sellers, they hesitate, right? You're asking them to sign the contract. Like I said, this is an important transaction here. It's a big deal. So they're like, I don't know, should I do it, should I not? And I wrote down, sometimes they just need a little nudge, just not a push, just like a little nudge. And what I mean by that is they may just be nervous about making a decision. I actually have a dialogue here that I'm going to give you, like the little nudge dialogue. I used this many times when I was selling real estate. You say something like this, well, I don't know. I'm going to give you more on the I want to think about it. But like the first option when somebody says I want to think about, I'll call you in a couple of days, is the little nudge. You say, Mr. Seller, I understand this is a big decision, isn't it? And it's a very important transaction. I agree with you on that. And I gotta ask you, Mr. Seller, based on everything that I've shown you today and everything that we discussed today, do you feel confident that I can sell your home quickly and for the most money possible? Notice the body language. I'm not going like that. I'm going like this. That's a little nudge. It's just, and the way you're saying it too, just, so they feel at ease. I understand, Mr. Seller, it's a very important transaction. And based on everything that I showed you today, do you feel confident that I'm the best agent to get this property sold for you? I just said it a little bit different now. And they're mimicking, Yeah, I think so. Okay, great. I'm sure you're going to be very happy with this decision, Mr. Seller. I just need your signature right here. That's it. Nudge. Practice it. So when you get an objection or when they're hesitating, this is your first option. Now, the first objection that I want to go over with you is the what do you do differently from other agents? That's probably one of the most common questions that agents ask on videos here on my channel, because I use that on my expired script. I want to meet with you and show you what I do differently. And they're like, what is it that you do differently? So that's an important question. I first want to say an objection is different than a condition. An objection is a question they have that you can give an answer and you can overcome the objection. A condition is an actual obstacle to listing and selling the property. Let's say a homeowner has a title issue. That's an obstacle. That's going to have to be cleared up before you can sell the house. So it's totally different. And sometimes agents hear objections and they think these objections are conditions. Why? Because they don't know how to handle them. They don't know what to do. For example, some that come to mind for me are over the phone when a FSBO says, I don't want to list with an agent. Okay, that's a condition. But some agents hear that and they say, oh, okay, well, do you think they might consider a couple of months from now? Okay, so you just end up with a lead. And that was not a condition. It's an objection. There are many ways to handle that objection. Same thing on the listing appointment, okay? For example, a great example at the appointment, I actually had written it down. I want to think about it. An agent may say, oh, okay, well, I'll give you a call tomorrow then. I'm going to tell you how to handle it on the spot so you can walk away with a signed listing agreement right now.